And welcome back to the podcast. I'm sitting here today with my boy Noor Kidwai. How are you, man?
Good, brother. How you doing?
Not too bad, man. Just come a little closer to that mic. Appreciate you. You know, we were talking before. You just came back from Mexico?
Yeah. So it was right at the beginning of February I was there. So I went there for 12 days.
Like this before the lockdown, right?
Before the big lockdown, yeah.
You did, you had ayahuasca sessions?
Yeah, so I met this guy like a while back, and he does like these retreats out in Peru and out in Mexico. So you would go down there for like maybe 12 days, I think we went down there, and we did 6 ayahuasca ceremonies, so like pretty much one every 2 days. And
how was that? This is something I've always wanted to do. How did it go down?
oh, dude,
Are you one with Earth now and shit?
man, yeah, hey, trust me, you have some of those experiences like when you're on the, like, they call it medicine because like I don't like to call it a drug because like this shit's like straight up like it's a psychedelic medicine. Like what it really does, it like helps you like look inside like pretty much your subconscious and like actually like see why you are the way you are, why you behave the way you behave. And it like actually like shows you, like helps you heal through a lot of that shit and come out on the other side like a lot more like motivated and confident in yourself, and like a lot like with a lot better vision of like what you want for yourself. It's crazy, man.
That sounds incredible. And correct me if I'm wrong. And just for those listening, ayahuasca is pretty much the plant form of DMT, right?
Yeah, so it's a plant and it's a vine, and they mix it together. So the plant has the DMT in it, and then the vine has this thing that stops your body from breaking down the DMT.
So you just take it as
yeah.
is.
So you take it as like a tea. They mix it up. It's like a shot. You take it. It tastes like shit. You fucking drink it back. It takes about 30, 40 minutes, and usually then you start feeling it.
What's it like?
I've done it 13 times now, like, so I've been doing it for about 5 years.
Oh, legit.
Yeah, so like every year I kind of go back to it and do it. It's such a good reset, and like really helps me like look at my goals for the year, and like honestly it helps me grow so much. Like,
Fuck, dude, I'm jealous. I wanted to do that. Mexico is always the place you go? Like, that's the destination?
I did it back in Peru the first time I did it. I went to like the rainforest, and I actually like went into the rainforest and fucking like stayed a week with some shamans and did it with them. That was the first time I did it. And then when I came back to Calgary, that's when I was living in Calgary at the time, I actually ended up finding some people who did it down there.
In Calgary?
Yeah, they did it out at a farmhouse. And like, so every year I would like, it's almost like just a reset for me every year, because before you go into a ceremony, you have to clean out your body. So like for 2 weeks before you go into any of these ceremonies, you have to stop smoking weed, you got to stop drinking, you got to stop eating any kind of red meat. And then like...
wow.
Yeah, and then 3 or...
Why the red meat?
So red meat just slows down your body. So this whole thing is about like raising your body's, like, you can say almost energy, because like it takes a lot of energy for your body to break down red meat.
Okay.
So it's nothing saying anything bad about red meat.
Yeah,
it's just saying it's...
I thought you were pushing, you got like a vegan agenda.
No, don't worry. Fucking, hey, buddy. Like, right.
I'm good. We're having a steak after this still, right?
Okay. Yeah, I'm down, buddy. No, trust me, I'm fucking like waiting to like get my first burger after I'm done like with my ayahuasca treatments, man.
If you show up to Mexico and we're like, yo, I'm here for ayahuasca, sick, and do they follow up? Do they ask you, have you cleaned out your body in the last 2 weeks?
Well, no, because it doesn't mean like it. All it does is just lessens the effect of the ayahuasca. So it's not like you're hurting yourself. You're just You're just not gonna have that great of a experience, right?
So to go in fully, like to go in to the maximum depth, you need to do this 2-week cleanse thing.
Yeah, so like, and then like 3 days before it, you have to stop all sugar. You got to stop all oil, salt, all fucking oil.
Salt?
Yeah, like you eat.
So no
like,
flavor for 3 days.
Yeah, so like 3 days, I'm eating oatmeal, toast with peanut butter, boiled eggs with salads, like.
But peanut butter's got a ton of sugar though.
You have to eat the natural sugar.
Okay.
It's not like natural sugars are all fine.
Okay,
like,
so you can have fruits all day and all.
Fruits and vegetables, like a ton of that shit. But it's all about cleaning out your body. And then when you go and do it, like you want to get your body into like very sensitive. So that's why like the day you do it, you fast. You don't eat anything that whole day, and you're
So it's just like mushrooms. When you do mushrooms too, you're supposed to not have anything in your system.
exactly.
Just so I guess it's only processing that one intake.
Yes, and then like when you're like that, and you'll notice it, like now that I've actually done this diet so many times, like I notice like how I become like my body becomes more sensitive to like everything around me. Like I'm actually like my intuition, like it actually raises up, and I can actually like start like I can almost like start feeling people a lot more like when I'm around them. Like I'm like, oh, I can actually kind of feel your energy, like how you're feeling. I become like a lot more empathetic when I'm like on that diet.
Okay, this is the pre-ayahuasca phase.
Yeah,
You're just in the zone
and
more.
that's like that's the kind of zone they want you to get in when you come to do it, because now your body's ready to like take the medicine.
So in my mind, when you do ayahuasca, you're just in like a teepee. A teepee with like a shaman who's like, and now visit the spirit world.
Yeah.
And like there's a fire in the middle, and he goes, look into the fire, Noor. What do you see? And then you're like, my father, or something like that. How does it actually go down? Like, are they in teepees and shit? Or?
So like they would call them big huts. Like they called it a maloca. A maloca. That's where we were in Mexico. So it was a big
Which
hut.
is a Spanish word for cottage.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And man, it's just like a fucking maloca. So it's a big fucking hut, kind of with like a teepee like top to it, and yeah, man, like 20 of us could fit in there. We had some shamans from like Peru come out, and like they were fucking helping us with the medicine and shit. And it was strong medicine, man. Like every fucking ceremony, like it takes you to a different spot in your head and like teaches you like I honestly, like now that I've done it 13 times, like the first few times you do it, like it can kind of be like really powerful. You come out of it
Overwhelming.
And you're like, yeah, overwhelming. You come out of it and you're like, wow, that was amazing. But like, I still don't really know what to think of this.
Okay.
But like, and now that I've done it 13 times, it's like, I fucking like just know like this shit like wants to teach you shit. It wants to help you in your life. It has such a like a loving presence to like the medicine, but every fucking trip is different. Okay, so like I'll tell you this. The last
examples, please.
All right, so the last year, actually I've been suffering with back problems my whole life. And like this last year I fucked up my shoulder really badly. And,
skiing probably?
Nah, I was fucking holding a fucking ladder skiing.
Oh,
I look like a fucking skier to you?
You look like you could zip, zip. That's a pretty nice sweater, bro. You look like you ski, bro.
This is a ski
That's a nice sweater, yeah.
All right, damn, I hope I'm not putting that vibe
No, bro, no, there's nothing. I ski. I love skiing. There's nothing wrong with it, bro. Nothing wrong with skiing, bro. If you ski out there, shout out to all the skiers. Nobody really skis out there. No, skiing is the shit. But it's like it gets a bad rep. Like, you ski, bro? You're privileged? And then it's like, no, I'm not. I just like sliding down the snow quickly. With your music, it's sick.
It does actually sound fun.
But you fuck your shoulder up.
Yeah, so I fucked my shoulder up. It was on a ladder, by the way. Yeah, for the whole year, I just had like a rough shoulder, and it just kept like, even like working out and stuff, I'd work out and then I'd re-injure it, and then like, I'd have to take time off, and like, it was just a shitty
Mine's kind of like that too, by the way.
Yeah?
A little bit.
So I did this fucking ayahuasca, my shoulder and my back were fucked up, and because I was doing 6 trips, like during the trips, like I could actually feel it. It would grab your body, and it'll like actually start moving my shoulder and my spine like by itself. And like
readjust almost?
Readjust. It did a whole readjustment, and I came out of it, and my posture was feeling great, and the shoulder pain was gone. And like I've just never had it. Like the one trip I did, like, so I did a podcast on this where I fucking explained every like trip in detail. But like this one trip I did, this was my 4th one. The medicine like actually just like took my spine, and I could feel it like pressing shit in my spine, and every time it pressed something in my spine, I just like locked up, and my neck would like fly to one side, and then it would fly to the other, and then my shoulder would just start moving, and like it had like
literally chiropractic.
Yeah, and it was like it
ayahuasca.
was pressing like pressure points in different parts of my spine, and it would just move me like with like by pressing those points, and I had like zero control. And like honestly, when like I was just like, just because like I've done it so many times and I like trust the medicine,
you let it do its thing.
So I wasn't freaking out, Because like if that happened to me on my first or second time, I swear I would have been like, I'm fucking possessed.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now. Like,
100%.
yeah, you're like, what the fuck's going on? But like,
Do your thing, ayahuasca. I trust you.
hey, but like I asked the like shaman afterwards. I'm like, what the fuck was that? And he's like, oh yeah, it's called like, we always laugh about it. We call it the ayahuasca chiropractor. And it's just like,
Oh wow.
yeah, like it can realign your like the amount of shit these guys like claim like it can help with people and like their like mental health and shit. Like it's insane. Like
I've only heard of positives.
yeah, ayahuasca gets people off of fucking heroin.
I've
and shit.
only heard of positives, like from psychedelic experts on like Rogan, and I think the extent of my knowledge on this stuff is all from guests on Rogan who are like study psychedelics and study this and that, but only ever heard of positives from ayahuasca. I didn't realize it would physically adjust your body back to the default.
Dude, I fucking like that was probably my 10th time doing it, and I didn't fucking realize that either, and it did. And like I came out of that like just like completely amazed. Yeah, it has shown me stuff about my life that I needed. Like it like this last few trips that was showing me about curiosity. And it was just telling me like how this is something I need in my life to be more curious about shit.
Okay.
And it was just like, cause like I was also thinking about starting a podcast up for a while, and like I think this was something I was lacking, but it was like showing me if like somebody that's curious, like you'll constantly be searching for answers, and it'll just help you with content in every part of your life. At being like the kind of artist I am, like as a podcaster and like stand-up comedian, is like I constantly want content, but what you need is that curiosity to
pursue it,
to explore and like get curious about life, get curious about people, get curious about those kind of different things. And like it was like actually implanting like curiosity in my mind and showing me it, like, and it showed me about boredom, because that's usually, it was showing me like that's almost kind of like the opposite end of like curiosity, because you get to bored where you just kind of sit back and like
passive, totally,
and you're completely passive. You just end up like, for me, like I end up just going on fucking my phone or whatever.
Yeah, Instagram, just deep in the feed,
and and just fucking waste hours, waste days, and you just get bored and you just get that energy. And it was like showing me how like these two things are like two different types of energy almost, and like it was like putting this curiosity in me, and I've had that in me like since I came back. Like it comes and goes. I'll tell you I'll tell you this, like people who hear about ayahuasca, they think it's like this magic fucking pill or whatever that'll take away all your things. You do it and you're gonna feel amazing afterwards. Like you will feel amazing, but it's work afterwards as well. Like you have to do that kind of like work on yourself afterwards. Like it'll give you a lot of vision and like eye-opening of what you need to do and like to be who you want to be and like to get to where you want to get, kind of thing. But like you have to still do that afterwards.
In my experience doing, like, I've never done ayahuasca, I've never done DMT. Just with my experience with these psychedelics, LSD I find is very clinical. So it's almost like when you do LSD, have you done acid?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know, in my experience, you zoom up, so you see a bird's eye view of your thinking patterns. You know, so you think about how you typically think. Let's say you see a dog coming your way, and your intuition says, "Oh shit, is that a stray dog? Be careful." LSD lets you be like, "Oh, by default, I'm nervous of dogs," or something like that. You know what I mean? That's the LSD. Versus mushrooms, I find that mushrooms put you in tune with natural energy. So anytime I'm on mushrooms, I always end up barefoot, like outside.
Yeah.
I always end up barefoot on grass or in a forest. I hate doing mushrooms in like a very...
like a city atmosphere.
A city, yeah. Exactly. A very like built, designed, man-made thing. Mm-hmm. I like mushrooms in nature, right? It really puts you in tune. Like one time I was on a bunch of mushrooms in a trail in London where I do it, Kamoka, you know it if you know it. And dude, I was just like riding and walking and just like on a trip. And at one point I'm like next to this lake and I have some idea and I start writing on my little notebook. And I see a huge cloud of like bugs, mosquito-style bugs, just moved to the left slowly until I was in the middle of it. I was fully in the middle of this cloud of bugs, and like none of them were fucking with me. I wasn't at all worried. I'm literally like, it resonates. You go in the same wavelength.
Yeah.
Where there's no fear. There's none of that. You just exist within this cloud of bugs, which you would normally be like, oh, fuck, like 1,000 of these things. You'd be like, what the fuck? And you dip, right? Mm-hmm. That's how I describe mushrooms. It puts you like in tune with these energy. What I want to know is like, with ayahuasca, how do you, all these realizations, and do you have them in the form of thoughts? Like, I never thought of that. Or do you hear it in the form of a voice? Is there a character? Is there a figure? Is it the shaman, his voice out loud guiding you through the trip? How does it come to you? Like how...
Okay, well, short,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, short answer, it can be all of those. And I think a lot of people are different. For me, it comes more in like thoughts, and like it'll like move my thoughts around, and it'll like bring thoughts up to me, and like it'll show me, but it feels like it's my thoughts.
Okay.
But like a lot of other people say they have voices like actually talking to them, or visions. Like it's a very visual drug for most people, but I think just for me, I'm not a very visual person. Like even when I do mushrooms or acid, sometimes I see visuals.
You don't see the movement,
but like
yeah.
Hardly ever. Like I'm just more of a mental person.
Gotcha.
And I talked to the shaman about that, and he said that's like that's a big thing with psychedelics, is just people are different. And like I personally like having the thoughts come to me, because it usually makes a lot more sense to me, because if you have visions, you kind of have to remember and then go and interpret them. So it becomes,
if you have your own realizations you've come to, it's like a concrete moment
and it's very concrete. And like with me, what I do is like the next day I wake up first thing in the morning, and I go straight to my journal, and I just start jotting this shit down, and like while it's still fresh, because it will like kind of leave you, because it just,
it's like a dream.
It just feels like a dream. Yeah. And yeah, it's weird as fuck, man. It's weird as fuck.
You said you were 6 days, 1 day on, 1 day off?
Yeah, so we did have a couple, like, we ended up missing the first day because our flight got, like, we had just shit with the flights and stuff. So, like, the first day we were supposed to do the first ceremony, so we pushed it back. So we had 2 times where we were doing 2 ceremonies back to back.
Okay, but normally you do a rest day in between.
Yeah, and
like a reflect, rest, you mingle with people.
Yeah, and like so sometimes it's great to mingle with people, sometimes it's not. Like everyone, because like the thing is, everyone's working with so much different shit, man. And like some people had some like legit issues. Like I'm going there when I like, because a lot of times when you do ayahuasca, you want to have an intent. With me, it was like I was like kind of like my confidence was kind of shaken before I went, and I was like not really believing in myself and my vision before I was going there. So my intent was like to really reconnect with who I am and like get that belief back in myself.
Okay.
And it fucking gave me it, and it gave me it 100 times like more than I expected.
Props to that, man.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. But like other people, man, like there are people like dealing with like family suicides. There were people who were dealing with fucking like sexual abuse. There was people dealing with like real fucking shit, right? So
are you guys all in the hut together?
Yeah,
physically.
And and we all like, we do it at night, so it's dark and everyone kind of stays to themselves, right?
Are there people like screaming and crying from the corner, and your neck is like you're like those fucking weirdos?
Yeah, those fucking like cracking back.
Stay away from me. Like a fucking transformer.
Oh, dude, I felt like that. Yeah,
form of a healthy person.
People were crying though, man. Fucking, they were crying and laughing and
everything.
Yeah, and purging, like you puke on it, like puking and
that does, you don't lose the effect when you puke, like it doesn't leave your system?
Usually like, so okay, this is called purging. So this is one thing that ayahuasca does that mushrooms or acid just never do. Well, they kind of can do it, but like not even.
You haven't eaten enough mushrooms.
Yeah. So like they can do it. So let me take that back. But with ayahuasca, this happens almost every time you do it. There's some sort of purge. So most of the time it's puking. And what you'll do is like it's actually, you can like actually feel it's taking like different energies in your body that are not serving you, and different like it's taking shit and toxins in your body that are bad for you, and it like releases them. Like a lot of times, like the first time I did it in the jungle, it felt like there was this thick sludge going through like my whole body. Like my veins were like, my blood was just sludge, and I just felt every vein in my body, and it like thick shit flood like pumping through my body. And then all of a sudden it just slowly started all coming to my stomach. And like once it all got to my stomach, I just fucking was like, oh shit. And I grabbed my bucket and I just started like puking so hard into it. But like the puking felt amazing. It felt like just like a stream of just like this shit just coming out of you. And like and like when I came out of it, like my body was so light and I just felt amazing, and I was like dancing and just like, holy shit.
That's incredible. Two things. Was it a different color? Was it a weird? Did it look like normal puke, or was it just like black tar? You're like, Jesus.
So the funny thing is, it felt like I puked and just filled up the bucket because I just kept puking.
Yeah.
But in the morning when I looked at the bucket, it was just like a little bit in there. Like it was like because I was fasting all day and like
that's why I'm like, it doesn't reduce the effect because that's the only contents of your stomach is the ayahuasca drink.
You like the second time I did it in the jungle. So, okay, this one, I'll tell you this story because this kind of tells you like how it teaches.
Well, before you tell the story, second thing, you had a designated bucket? That was my second thing.
Dude,
you're like, I grabbed my bucket. Everybody's got a bucket.
Have a bucket.
Like, all right, Steve, here's your bucket.
Yeah, it's...
Maggie, your bucket, here you go.
And then, like, that's the one thing when you talk to people about this shit and they're like, oh, you have to bring a bucket? I'm never fucking trying that shit.
Yeah. But you're like, yo, you're fucking... like expelling all the toxins out of your body.
Your toxins, and like it's like a lot of mental toxins as well, like just mental, like honestly it feels like it's like setting you on a different wavelength in life. Like you feel so much lighter afterwards.
Fuck, I want to do this so bad.
Oh dude, like I like honestly it's just something I fucking one of the reasons I fucking started my podcast, God Yay or Nay. It's just like I wanted to share this shit, and I'm just like, okay, this is fucking something I like 100% believe in. I'm 100% passionate about. Like I'll fucking talk about it and be open with it. Because I, especially with like family and stuff on Facebook and social media, at first I was like kind of hesitant. Like maybe they're going to think I'm like a fucking
druggie or whatever. But after 12 sessions of medicine, as you call it, you're like, why not just, it's the truth, right? It's your truth.
And you gotta fucking,
it's your truth, period, right? And, sorry, I cut you off. You were gonna say you had a story?
Okay, so the second time I did it, and this will teach a lot of people how, because like a lot of people are afraid of ayahuasca because you can have some fucking...
Listen to this, all you naysayers, listen to this.
And it's honestly, it can take you to some really fucking rough areas in your life. It can, like, it heals you by like sometimes like showing you old memories and stuff that really fucking have a lot of pain in you, so you have to kind of relive it a little bit, but this is how you release. So when it teaches you something, this is like kind of like this story is, so the second time I did it, I drank the fucking thing, the brew, and within 15 minutes, like I couldn't keep it down and I puked it up. And so now I'm just sitting on my mat and I'm thinking like, did it take effect? Like, am I like... Did
I cancel it out?
Yeah,
is it all
like
gone?
It was only 15 minutes. Like, did it get in there? So I just kind of laid down on my mat and just waited for like an hour and a half. Nothing happened. And I can like hear other people, like they're in
their spines are adjusting.
Yeah, they're puking and they're doing all their shit. So I'm like, okay, everyone else is like doing fine.
In the zone.
Yeah. So I wait another hour and then finally I kind of like chicken out. I'm like, I don't want to fucking like get high tonight. And like, I was just like, I'm going back to my hut. So like I'm in the middle of the jungle. I go back to my hut, and like once I get into my fucking into my hut, I lay down on my bed, and then like this fever just like fucking hits me, and like I'm just like now like just like in this like crazy fever. My mind, like I'm just sweating, I'm pouring sweat, and it's like already like plus 35 in the jungle, and now I'm just like in my hut just rolling around, just like pouring sweat and just having this body aches and pains. And I was just like fuck, like I'm gonna die. And like I'm just like start freaking out. I'm like, holy shit, I caught something in the jungle, like I'm so stupid. I start thinking like, why didn't I take medicine? Like I knew I should have taken malaria. Like I'm like all of these thoughts, like I'm just having a fucking panic attack, a fever, and like body aches all at the same time. And then all of a sudden, like it hits me, and I'm like, oh wait a second, like this is the medicine. I'm like, this is the medicine giving me this shit right now. And then I'm like, and like all of a sudden I'm like, why? And like when I like asked that question, it like showed me like about my life and like how I'm just not grateful for anything I fucking have, and like just how easy your life is compared to like people in the world, like how much pain they have, like how people live their life, and for you to have such a easygoing life and how no gratefulness you have for it. And like it was showing me that, and like I just started like panicking. I'm like, I'm sorry, like I started screaming
Out loud?
Yeah, like I'm just like, I'm sorry, like I'll be grateful for my life, I'll stop living so selfish. Like I just started screaming shit like that, and like all of a sudden I just felt like a breaking point. And once this like I passed this threshold, I just ran to the fucking toilet and I just started fucking like violently just puking, like just like fucking like there were people like 100 meters away in another hut, and they told me in the morning, like they fucking like I woke them up and shit, just like for how like violent I was puking.
Holy shit. What was even in your stomach at this point?
I don't know. And like maybe I didn't like, because afterwards when you look at it, you were just like, there was some like, it was like bile and stuff. It felt like,
because
like
there's nothing in there.
Yeah. So like it was weird. There was stuff that came out, but like I don't know what it was.
Okay.
But like
demons.
Yeah, when it came out, and then like once it came out, like all my fever, everything just went away, and like this like calmness came over every like fucking part of my body, and I just like went and laid down on my bed, and all of this like memories of like why I should be like so grateful for everything I have in my life just came to me, like all of these people in my life, what they've done for me and what they mean to me, and like it was just like a whole wave of everything reminding me why I should be grateful. And then like that gratefulness, that feeling of gratefulness, I've just never felt it, like almost, and filled with love at the same time. I've never felt it like that before. And it stuck with me afterwards. And like it's something like now, like I said, after you come out of your trip, now like it's like I learned I have to live more grateful in my life. That's what ayahuasca taught me. Now, am I going to do it? And like I had to like learn to like now like take that time as much as I can to feel that gratefulness in my life and keep it coming. And it makes my life so much more easier to live. And like I don't know, I feel like it brings me more blessings, and like it just gives me a much better life because I've like done that. But that's like a lot of like how you can have a negative trip in ayahuasca, or like a really hard trip, but it just brings you like something so beautiful afterwards, and such like a fundamental change, right? To
that's amazing. That's like a life-changing moment, right?
It would fucking completely change my life. I came back home. I stopped like being scared of like what I was doing at the time in comedy. I fucking got my visa to go to the UK at the time. I was like, I was just completely not afraid anymore. Like I was like for years I was like, I want to go to the UK. Yeah, as a Canadian, I can get this 2-year visa. Like, why don't I do it? And I always made excuses. After that trip, it was just like, fuck it, I'm ready. I went home, fucking went to the computer, got my visa. Once the visa came in, planned my
like
trip.
all that resistance just disappeared.
And like it was just, and I went to the UK. I fucking had a great time there.
2 full years?
I didn't do the 2 full years. I went there, realized it wasn't what I wanted, and came back. But I grew so much when I went there, and like learned so much about myself. And then I came back and realized like Toronto was like what I wanted more. Like Toronto was like more of who I am and what I needed. And
so I want to get to that. Just a couple things to wrap up this ayahuasca stuff. This is amazing. Are there any people that the shamans recommend don't take? Is it the way that the shamans approach ayahuasca? Is it will be beneficial? It will be beneficial regardless. It cannot be like
no. I think
or do they say do they give a disclaimer? If you're blah 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 blah,
like medication disclaimer. So like if you're on SSRIs, which are like the mental illness,
anxiety, depression, all that stuff.
Yeah. So like those ones, if you're on the medication, you got to talk with them and like plan like a proper detox, because you can't have that medication and doing it.
Yeah, some weird clashing.
And like so, and I'm also probably. So I'm pretty sure you're like, if you have like schizophrenia, like or like if you have like,
severe mental disorders,
and if you have that in your family, maybe this probably isn't the best for you. And also like if you're a complete like egotist, like you'll probably never ever even think about trying it.
But wouldn't it be the best for those people?
But they're gonna have such a fucking hard crash down, man. Like, if you're like so fucking, but like the thing is, people who are so fucking like egomaniac kind of thing, they never even would look at ayahuasca and give a shit about trying it. Like most of the time. So like, I don't think you have to worry about that too much. But those guys might have like, because if you're like so kind of identified with your ego self,
yeah,
like,
it might be dangerous.
When it fucking like cuts it off, you're gonna fucking like have a complete panic attack, right?
Your self is like up in the air.
Yeah,
you know, you question your identity, everything.
Yeah.
And you like at this point, I know I'm curious as fuck, and I'm sure everybody who's listening at this point, if you want to do ayahuasca, what are your options? Let's assume a lot of these listeners are in Ontario. There's people all over the world.
Yeah, man. Okay.
What are your options? Like, actually, like, if you want to do ayahuasca, post-COVID, all this shit goes away. You know, all this COVID stuff is done, right? Assuming, you know, this summer, next summer, whatever. How do you go about doing it? What is the way you would recommend in your 12, 13 sessions?
So, like, if you find because like I can't give away like some of the people I've done it with just because it is.
I get it. I'm not saying give me their names or whatever. But
so like,
is there specific resorts in Mexico that only do ayahuasca stuff, and you just have to Google it?
Yeah. So the resorts in Mexico, because if you can find them, and if you can find a place and you know somebody who's been there, or you can if you can find somebody you trust who's been to the place and can just say like they do it properly and they like respect everything, then do it. Yeah. Okay. Like if you want,
you'll tell me your place off air.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, hey, if you want to go to Peru, just because this place, like, you know, Peru, not too many people are going to, and like this place is on the internet. It's called DAS. That's DAS Healing Center.
DAS Healing Center, Peru.
Yeah, so like that one's like,
and check out Machu Picchu. You know,
yeah.
2 birds, 1 stone.
That's
baby.
what I did.
Two birds, one stone.
I went there for 3 weeks. I did a week out in the jungle. Fucking did ayahuasca. Then went did Machu Picchu and stayed around Cusco, which is in the Sacred Valley out there. It was
That's incredible.
Life-changing trip, man. And so if you do that, you can go there. I would say do at least do 2 ceremonies the first time you do it.
That means 4 days roughly. That's 4 days.
Well, no, you sometimes you like when I did it in Calgary, if you're doing 2 ceremonies, you do them back to back.
That's a Calgary session though.
Yeah. And hey, man, you can do it in Calgary and have the exact same trip.
Yeah, I'm just fucking around.
Yeah, no, but you can have it. This medicine, man, you can have it if it's done right and it's done with the proper kind of people and stuff. Like
I need a shaman who has a South American accent. Yeah, you know what I mean?
If
they're just like, look within yourself and look in the fire, see what you know, that's not gonna do it for me. All right, hey Steve, cut it out. Look in the fire, bro. No, I need a guy who's like, the wind is blow. Actually, I don't even know. The wind blow. That was Chinese. Whatever. You know what I'm going for. You know.
Just an accent. Give me an accent.
That song in accent version. You know what I mean?
Oh, man.
That's amazing though. And I fully want to do that. I've actually wanted to for a while, but after that segment, dude, that slid way up my list. Okay, especially now that I know the Peru one. You know.
Yeah.
And I haven't been to Peru, so that's a
for you though.
That's a nice little destination.
I might actually have a place in Toronto.
Oh no way!
Yeah. But that's gonna be
that's
way
all fair.
After COVID and shit. So
yeah, what? Isn't in COVID the best time to do it?
Hey, no. When if this place in Toronto ends up working up, I'm gonna like get people I know here who are interested in to come do it with me. Because yeah, dude, this fucking shit is legit. And, yeah,
I'm down. I'm there, man.
I've seen like a lot of different people really like bring so many good changes into their lives. It's cool. It's fucking
Fuck
cool,
yeah, man. So we didn't even mention it, but yeah, obviously I think you've probably pieced it together at this point. Noor is a pretty accomplished stand-up comic. I've known you in Toronto now for a couple of years. I don't know if you came to Toronto before me or I came here first. I don't remember. I came here in like the beginning of 2018, I think. That's when I moved up to...
Yeah, so so I was like end of 2018, I think.
Okay, so I Just a little bit before. I've been seeing you in the scene now 2 years. I had no idea about all this fucking ayahuasca shit, bro.
Yeah.
You don't do it in your comedy.
I've done it a couple times. It's just, actually, usually when I do it, it's like because it's like a story I tell. And so I'll do it when I'm doing like headlining sets.
Oh,
so,
okay.
like,
Got a long set.
Yeah.
I haven't caught it. Yeah.
But still, it fucking, it's not as funny yet. Especially if people don't know what it is. Like, when you're in comedy and you have to kind of explain something.
Yeah, you might ruin the explanation. Ruins it.
Yeah. It works good at the underground at like a weed
or
room.
in Toronto.
Yeah. So like if
in
you're
a big city,
if
Vancouver.
you're like in a room when you're like smoking weed and you're like, hey, you guys know ayahuasca, and everyone's like, yeah, and you're like, all right, let's fucking tell a story here.
But so you started comedy in Calgary or where?
Yeah. I actually started in High River. It's like a small farming town, like south of Calgary. That's where I grew up.
But to anybody you meet in the world that says where you're from, you just say Calgary, right? Yeah. There's no way you say High River.
I say Calgary.
I told you I'm from London, Ontario. When I'm abroad, I never will say London because that's confusing as shit, right?
Yeah,
England? No, I just say Toronto, just to avoid all that shit.
Yeah, no, me too. Like I say Calgary and like, yep, that's good enough.
And you're Pakistani?
Yeah.
Did you grow up there or were you born in Calgary?
I was born in Calgary. My parents, so my dad's from Pakistan. My mom's from Kenya.
Oh shit! I had no idea. Damn.
Yeah. So
you got that weird mix thing. It's funny how when you could take someone who your mom's Kenyan and your dad's Pakistani, but you look Pakistani.
Yeah, well,
it's those weird mixes where you still come in the middle.
To be fair, I think my mom's like heritage probably goes back to India.
Oh,
okay. But she's like 6th or 7th generation Pakistani. Or not, Kenyan.
Kenyan.
Yeah. Like both my parents like are just fucking came here, lived the immigrant dream.
Did you learn any of their mother tongues?
Oh, dude, I fucking so Urdu is what my family speaks mostly, and
okay.
I can understand it. I'm not very good at speaking it. It fucking sucks.
Yeah,
man.
Me too, man. With my Arabic, I think it's better than your Urdu, but
I've heard you speak it though. Like I've heard you speak in Arabic, I think.
Yeah, I can speak Arabic.
You speak well.
Like, but like if you speak Arabic, you'll know that my Arabic is like a Down syndrome guy. You know what I mean? When I'm in Sudan, bro, it's fucking embarrassing.
You're like the backwoods Arabic.
Yeah, exactly. You're like you're the retard.
You're the hick.
Yeah, literally, right? Oh, it's the worst. And you can't pull out the English to flex on them and just hit them with the hard English, right? Because. Did you ever go to Pakistan and have to speak Urdu?
No, but
thank God for that.
Yeah. Fuck.
Blessing in disguise.
I get it with the family, man. You go to the family reunions and they start speaking.
Yeah.
I remember I did the joke about this, like going to like fucking Montreal and having like people come up to you and speak in Urdu and then they'll like no and like speak in French and you're like no and they're like fuck, who is this idiot? Like how many languages I'm gonna get down this list before this retard can talk?
You're looking away like I've done ayahuasca though. I've had experiences. My back is fine. So I didn't know you went to England either. So you did the ayahuasca trip. You, in your mind, England was the place you wanted to do comedy. How long were you doing stand-up in Calgary? Or I'm assuming you started stand-up in Calgary, not High River, right? Because there's probably open mics. There's nothing there, right?
Well, no, my dad moved to High River and bought like a little one-screen movie theater.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah. Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's
but the
sick.
movie theater also was like, it had like they used to do plays back in there. So like after high school, me and my friends started doing improv shows there. And we started doing little stand-up sketches, sets in between our like different improv games.
Yeah.
And man, like once I tried stand-up at my own like the theater I grew up in,
you're like, this is
this is it. And then I went to school in Edmonton, started doing stand-up there, and then I moved to Calgary after I finished school. And
what'd you study?
Biochem.
My good buddy studied that shit. Ended up fucking unemployed for a while.
Dude.
But he's nice. He's doing now. Shout out to him. But
if you go into medicine,
it's weirdly vague. Biochem.
Oh, man.
It's a little bio, a little chem. It's an undergrad. It's non-specialized. Good luck, buddy.
No, it's good if you're going into medicine or some shit. But
that's the dream for 90% of them. And no one
they're
gets
the smart ones.
Yeah.
And the rest of me, I was just like fucking stupid and like, well, not stupid. I realized like halfway halfway through school, like I'm gonna do stand up.
And you
like,
finished the degree still?
Yeah, I think it was
for the
more-
parents.
Yeah, fuck the immigrant parents.
That's what it
They
is,
bought
bro.
the businesses
Yeah,
to get these
that's what it
kids
is.
to become doctors.
And then I hate when people go, well, you have something to fall back on. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
How am I going to fall back on this biochem degree?
You're in
Like,
engineering, right?
yeah, I have an engineering degree, but it's like, what? It's like, yeah. So I guess if I don't get a lot of headlining gigs, I'll get a biochem job. What the fuck do you mean fall back on that? I can't. I've been out of this shit for years. I don't know shit. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know?
No, like,
you can't compete with people who give a fuck.
Yeah.
Right?
My degrees has to be useless now. Maybe like if I wanted to go back to school, I could like they might be like, all right, like we'll give you a year of credit.
They got to
or
give you some
something.
points for the artistic.
Yeah,
thing.
maybe like
you'd have to
but,
do
like,
a comedy class on the side or some shit. So you went to Edmonton. You started comedy there, then moved to Calgary.
Yeah.
And then how many years in were you like, yo, I want to go to UK? And then what was the fascination with UK comedy?
Honestly, I was just like my whole goal in life was just something like I want to be traveling and doing comedy. Like those are two things
Same.
I just love.
Absolutely.
I love traveling.
Absolutely.
I love comedy. And so I remember hearing
You don't
about-
mind being alone, you know what I mean? Like,
I fuck man.
You
Like
chill,
I'm a fucking like I'm a psychedelic guy who loves meditation and self-reflection. Like being alone is fucking simple for me.
yeah, right. You're just sitting there, legs crossed, like, I'm fucking lonely.
I am very aware that I'm lonely. I'm fucking
And then you
lonely
write
as
into your
shit.
journal, I'm gonna make a bit about this, and then it all works out. But so you did the ayahuasca. What was it about UK? Because you know Conrad Ose?
Yeah, I love Conrad.
He's super fast. He really wants to go to UK too, like UK comedy. He's got this like dream about UK comedy because
So-
there's a lot of like African comedians in UK.
They're killing it out there.
So explain to me what when you went there, what were you thinking it would be like, and what was it like the scene?
So like
What year was it too? Sorry.
When I went out there must have been like 2016.
Okay.
I think or 17 when I.
So pretty much, let's say it's, for all intents and purposes, it's exactly what's happening right now. It's still the same 3-4 years.
and like
same vibe, same scene.
Yeah. Actually, I went out there right when Brexit happened. That's what I know. Like Brexit literally happened like when they voted for it.
Yeah.
That literally happened like 2 months before I went out there.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, so that's when I went out there. That was 2016.
Okay.
Yeah. So like the reason I went out there was just like I kept hearing about comedians, like especially Canadian comedians who took that visa, went out there, and they actually made like really good living in London. Like
I've heard that a lot of times too. Peter White, Dylan Gott, Mike Wilmot's big up there.
Yeah. Wilmot was killing it. I know Alison Smith. She's a Calgary comedian, killing it out there. Paul Meyerhog, Paul Meyerhog was a guy who he's a comedian from Alberta, small town.
I was about to say Meyerhog sounds like the most small town guy.
Yeah. And like, so man, he just fucking was doing like theaters across Europe, just because he's on a big show with like big names, and like he's fucking doing these huge theater shows now, like opening for these huge names and stuff, and like very accomplished, successful comedian, travels the world doing comedy. And it was just like, I looked at that and I'm just like, okay, this is what I want.
Yeah.
So like, that's why when I looked at London, I was like, it seems like I can get into the international market doing that. So I went down to London. Luckily I have like an uncle in London who like let me stay with him for a little while. And like, so I went to London, did all the fucking shows. And
was it like, I started in Detroit, moved to San Francisco, and then moved to Toronto. So I've done comedy in a bunch of different scenes.
Okay.
And I know that when you go into a scene, you get the cold shoulder for like 6 months.
100%.
Because comedians come in and out of a scene like flux, like snowflakes. So no one cares to remember or care about you until they see you consistently. Like, okay, I guess this is a person who's sticking around.
Yeah.
What's your name again? You know what I mean?
No, that's 100%.
Same kind of vibe out there?
100%. And it's a bigger scene, and I didn't hit up like a...
London is bigger than Toronto?
Oh, way bigger.
Way bigger.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure besides New York
and LA,
it's probably London.
Number 3?
I'm pretty sure. Like I can't. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure. Like it's stupid how many clubs. Like the one cool thing about it, there's like so many clubs, like straight up comedy clubs, not shows, like comedy clubs.
Yep.
That are like fucking walking distance from each other.
I heard,
and,
yeah.
Like, So if you get into the circuit, which I never did, like I stayed there for a few months and like checked out shit and like did shows at like different clubs and stuff. But if you get into it, like you could, like people were like 10 years ago, people were making like 200 pounds a show. They do a show, fucking walk out and go to another show, which is not too far away. And like some people were doing 2-3 shows a night. So you're like talking about 400 pounds, 600 pounds a night.
And just for the weekend though, right? Keep that in mind. Like for the Friday, Saturday.
And honestly, man, like the people who were making it happen were making good fucking money.
Dude, the way it was explained, Dylan Gott, I don't know if you know him, but he's a Toronto comic.
No, I saw him out in Edinburgh. I went and watched his show out there.
Oh, okay, yeah, sick. He when he headlines, he like takes me around, like I'll MC for him, I'll drive him to gigs. I'm like his driver MC thing here and there, you know. He throws me a bone every now and then. But the way he explains it to me is that in the US, there's like the hierarchy, the way it's set up, there's 1 million comedians at the bottom and just a handful at the top. You know what I mean? Like the top categories of comedians, as far as like the top, they're millionaires. And then the second level, they're eating. And then the third level, there's thousands and they're not getting anything. Apparently in England, there's a lot of room at the top isn't as top like the US where you're a millionaire.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of room for you to eat as a comedian.
Yeah.
There's a lot of comedians who are making their rent, they're paying their food and everything. There's a lot of room for them.
It seemed that way for me when I went there, and it looked like there was a lot more working comics, but it's on a downtrend.
Oh,
so like
you felt that?
Yeah, the last 10 years, like 10 years ago, I think it was like when it was near the peak.
Okay,
and then it started going down, and like you could feel like because like every time it like the shows get less and less, like the comics who are already in the scene, like they crunch down and like try to keep the shows that they have, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and with the clubs that they work at and shit like that. So like, I don't know. It had that feeling like it wasn't as easy as it was to jump into it. And like, I don't know. When I got there, like it was kind of like me personally, I just didn't like living in London. That was the reason I was. Like,
what was it for you?
It's like
just gray, and it's like,
and it didn't feel like it was too big of a city. I didn't know anybody. I didn't like it. I wasn't really like I met some people and made some friends, but it was just like, it wasn't my kind of scene. And like, I didn't love, like the culture wasn't my kind of culture. I realized like I am like Canadian.
You're a Canadian.
Like, yeah, I'm a Canadian guy. And I'm North American. Like I, even going to New York, I was like, New York.
You fit in here.
Yeah, I fit in better there. And even though people loved me in England, I was having great shows out there, and I like got to try a lot of different types of shows and like realize like, oh, I can, like, that's why it
works. My comedy works
here. It was so good for my confidence. And like, I realized like, hey, if I stay here and put in the 2 years, like I can actually probably be making like a living after that 2 years. But then I'm going to have to put in like 5 more years to actually make it a good living, right?
Yeah.
But like that was where I was looking at my life. I'm like, oh, like I'm actually like becoming like a British citizen if I keep this path up.
Yes.
And I just didn't want to do it. Like it wasn't me. I'm like, that's when I came back, and like right away I came back and I'm like focused on Toronto, and I'm like, hey, this is the next step for me. This is where I can go and start building my career. And then, like, at least from there, if I'm like, I need to jump to New York now, then I know I can do it. But since I came here, like, now it's been like 2 years in Toronto, I'm like, no, this is me.
It's a lot of stage time in Toronto, you know?
A lot of stage time.
Especially if you're considered one of the established people like yourself, right?
Yeah, and hey, like, it fucking, I'm still not considered that in some areas, I think, but like, that's what the 2 years have done for me. The first year in Toronto was hard. Like it took me a while to fucking like get known by a lot of people, because like you said, you come to a new scene.
You just get the shoulder for months and months.
People don't give a fuck about you, and like you can be like, hey, like I've fucking been headlining, or hey, I work on these clubs, I travel the country doing this, and like they don't give a fuck. Like they don't care. Like if they don't see you. And plus, there's so many good comics here. Like, no, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, they can be like, hey, I can go get a fucking killer comic down the road. It does, like, it's pretty damn easy to find a good comic.
Why you're lucky, I think, is because you have that background from Alberta. If you don't know this, pretty much Edmonton is one of the most bustling comedy scenes. From what I've heard, you can really make a living doing comedy just in Edmonton. like people come out to shows.
Yeah,
hard in Edmonton. There are
in Calgary is the same. Like I started a room in Calgary called Jupiter Comedy. It's now 8 years old. It's going to be 9 in September, and like it was a weekly show. This is how I paid a lot of my bills. Like me and my buddy ran it, and we sold out every fucking week almost. Like after
how many seats?
It was only like 60 seats.
That's sick.
And
yeah,
like,
it's like the free time show.
Yeah, and it's just like a fucking great small room in the heart of like the hipster neighborhood. And
what's that called in Calgary?
Kensington.
Kensington.
Of course,
of course, just like in Toronto. This
and
fucking staple.
So it's such a great room, and like we were charging $10 and making like $600 plus some extra shit. So like it was every week I was making like a good chunk of change, and that was like paying my rent and bills, and then I was going on the road and making money off of comedy doing that, because you can go on the road on the weekend and like
for those also not privy, you don't make any money really in Toronto doing comedy. Comedy in Toronto, Toronto's like the gym. If you think of it like that's where you just work out, that's where you sharpen your bits, and then you got to leave Toronto to pretty much make your money to get headlining gigs.
Exactly.
So you go back out West Alberta to your hometown. Noor's coming back
and
you line up all the shows in advance.
All up, and like what, and then like for like 3 or 4 weeks, like I can. Like the last couple times I went back, like I would go for like 3 or 4 weeks, sometimes 2 months, and like just.
I remember you went at the end of last year, beginning of this year.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I did like all fucking of Calgary, Edmonton, Saskatchewan, and then went to BC and did Vancouver and the islands. And
fuck
just, like,
yes, bro.
And then like it's almost like you're performing pretty much every night, and like doing all these different types of shows, because like you go from like some boony gigs in Alberta and like sometimes like really small town gigs, and then like you're in the city just doing like Edmonton and Calgary and Vancouver, like very different hip. Like they have hip shows, they have club shows, they have like hipster university college shows, like you have all these different types of shows. Like it was just so good for me, man, moving to Toronto, writing so much here. Like you said, it's a gym. I found out a lot about my voice in comedy, what I want to talk about, who I want to be as a comedian.
Have you ever gone out east?
So no, I was planning to do it like pretty
pre-COVID.
Like I was supposed to fucking do Winnipeg Comedy Festival this on May 1st, but then this shit canceled it all. Hopefully I still, like they said, like we're still doing the thing.
They sent that email, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, but they said we're still going to do it, but like we're going to have to wait until this shit's over.
Yeah, dude.
But
I was supposed to have, I finally got a showcase for Yucks. A Yuck showcase.
Oh, you sorry, buddy.
Yeah, on March 31st.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I'm like,
just like, and
then
you know what's gonna happen?
They all got canceled, and they sent an email. They're like, obviously they're all canceled, but you will be contacted in the next. So I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm done.
Oh, what's gonna happen? They're gonna end the lockdown on March or May 30th, and then they're just gonna 31st. They're gonna be like, all right, boss.
No, it was March 31st.
Oh,
it was March
shit.
31st.
Oh,
but
okay,
yeah, and even in February, end of February, you could tell it's all closing. Like it's all coming to a halt.
It was sucking, man. That was
those couple
shitty.
weeks where like every day 10 new businesses were closed.
Dude, when fucking NBA shut down, that's when I'm like,
and Hajj. When I heard about Hajj not happening,
I
was like, oh fuck, this is what? Every league closed, Hajj closed. You're like, this
Hajj
is unprecedented. Like, like Saudi's not letting in people to do pilgrimage. Like,
that's
like later this year. But like, it's like, what the fuck? All concerts are canceled, like everything. I was like, oh, this is serious as shit.
Fuck, man.
But it'll pass. I think it'll pass. Italy's on the downswing as far as new cases. And they're like the future, that's the way I like to think of it. They're like a little bit in the future as far as this pandemic is concerned. Yeah. So it's like, okay, they're seeing a horizon, you know what I mean? So that's around the corner for us, right? I just hope that we're back on stage by June or July is what I'm hoping for.
Hey.
And then you hear shit where it's like Trudeau's like, 1 more year of this. It's
man.
fuck that,
one
more year of this. There's no way.
I was like, You remember like when you were kids, like if somebody got the chicken pox, your parents would like bring you around them to get the chicken pox.
Early,
like, yeah. Right now I'm like at that with like COVID.
You're like, just give it to me.
Oh yeah, like hey, I'm fucking young. Hopefully I can fight this shit. Like let me go around somebody with it. I'll stay at home for 2 weeks and fucking like let this shit pass through my body. But then afterwards, if you're immune, can't I fucking do anything?
Yeah, that's
like,
what I was thinking.
I can go and do shows.
I think this is like really like stupid. Uneducated thinking, because I've thought the same thing, but then I realized you can get the flu more than once. Yeah, you know, so it's like even if you get COVID, right?
Yeah,
couldn't you just get COVID again?
I bet you some people will, but the majority won't, and
we'll build an immunity.
We would have like that's why I think like every like fucking young person who lives alone, they should open up the bars for them. We should go and do these fucking disgusting orgies at night and just fucking like get sick. And like for a month, it's all about the young people getting sick and getting over it. And everybody who's vulnerable, you stay at home and you fucking just stay away from everyone.
That's so funny.
And then, the rest of us get it and then we get over it. And then when like we can actually open up society, like most of the people are immune. It would be good.
But you know, the way it's going to happen is you're going to be the first case in his 30s to die from COVID. Right?
Oh, yeah. No, there's going to be a few of
case
those.
Study.
There's going to be a few of those. And
I'm going to ayahuasca mine. I know, I'm smart. If I get COVID, I'm going to go take ayahuasca. Let it beat it out of my system.
Yeah, I don't know if ayahuasca.
Throw it out. If I understand ayahuasca correctly, it will fix me with COVID. Yeah. It'll beat my COVID.
Can you get rid of the beer AIDS?
Yeah, right? Please. But it is a crazy time, man. I'm just looking to the horizon.
Yeah,
I'm thinking hoping that'll be done soon. Continue to watch these fucking movies nonstop. What have you been doing, man? I've said this a bunch of times, just watching every movie.
Yeah. So I started my fucking podcast. That's like the one thing. So like
God, yay or nay, right? Well, I'm gonna plug that. I'll give me the link to that. So I'll throw it in the description.
So man, like just been like having some doing like some interviews with Skype with that shit. But besides that, man, I've been kind of not doing much.
Writing at all?
A little bit. Like some days I do, but some days, like trust me, I've had like a few days of nothing, and I've had a couple days of just fucking being like really bad, just like really just on my phone or like for so many hours a day, and then like just watching television and like just like completely unproductive. Because other days I've been really productive where it's like I'll work out, I'll do some writing, cook up a nice meal, do a podcast, and like at the end of the day I'm like, hey, I fucking did great today. Maybe watch some television, go to bed, and like you're feeling like fucking like
you feel like the shit, the bee's knees.
Yeah, but like then the other days I might like fucking have some beers and like and then I'm just feeling like really like fuck, like I'm just bored and like I just look up my phone or watch shit and like I'm trying to like not do that anymore because that is like
I've been writing not writing like bits or writing or working on any material. I have no drive to do any of that. If I have a idea, I'll write it. I'll make a note of the idea. But if I can't go to the stage and kind of work on the thing, then I have no drive to write it, you know? It's like some people, some people are like, you're gonna, I see something. And if you can write, God bless you, you know what I mean? And I'm sure I literally could write. I just had 2 coffee shops that I would always circulate. I had like, my life was set, I'd go write every day at these coffee shops.
Love that shit.
You know, I'd go write, and if it was packed, I'd go to my other one. I always had coffee shops. I'd be out writing. That was my thing. Hitting up the material, tightening it, listening to the bit from yesterday, working on new stuff that night. You know what I mean? I had a nice little process, right? And now it's disrupted so severely. I can't just be like, I'll write 40 bits by the time. Like it just, like I said this earlier, but like Tupac went to prison, and I remember thinking, I remember watching this interview. He was talking about how like you think you're gonna go to prison and write all these albums, but it just destroys your soul. You know, it like blows out that candle of your creativity. Right? you think you're in there, you got all this time, you're gonna be so productive. You're really not, right?
Oh,
You need to feed your soul to actually be able to write this. It's creative work we're doing.
Yeah, well, that's what the stage time was like. The stage time was like kind of like the feeding the soul, because like when you did like write a joke and you went in on stage and tried it out, you were like, yeah, it gave you like that good feeling, like
Immediate feedback,
spark.
great feedback. Yeah,
and then you come back and you're like, now I'm motivated to work on it, because I did write like some jokes. Like I remember the first week of this quarantine, like I did have like a ton of jokes about the quarantine, just because it was just so different. It provided like a spark of creativity in me. But then it was like afterwards,
3 weeks have passed,
and it was like I didn't have anywhere to try it out.
Yeah.
Like I did do some like Skype shit with another podcast, and I was trying out some jokes there, and like I don't know, but it just doesn't feel the same. And it's like you're
and there's been 50 new developments since you've
and like
shit.
so like now I'm like looking back at the jokes and I'm like, oh, I guess a couple of them are kind of funny, but like that is a weird thing when you come back to comedy. It's like I wonder like how much new shit I'm gonna have that I'm like gonna be like, all right, this bit right here, but I don't know. It sucks. I'm really like starting to miss that stage time like a ton.
Yeah, I had my just my joke book just sitting next to my keys, and I was grabbing my keys. I flicked it open. I just saw a couple bits written, and I'm like, I have no idea how these go. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if I'm on stage and I get back into the flow of things, it's not gone into the ether, right? Mm-hmm. But right now, like it's out of my short-term memory completely. Like I'm looking at the bit was saying like safe black.
Safe black.
I don't even. I'm like safe black. How does that go?
I write shit like that all the time, and you're like,
how does that go? I'd have to go back to my recording, get the beats of it,
and you like smoked a joint, and when you came up with that, you're like, fucking safe black. This is gonna be on
Netflix. This is the bit. This is the bit, dude. Fuck yeah, man. But yeah, what's next for you, bro? You talking about New York? Are you once this all goes back to normal? Is that something you actually?
New York maybe, like down the road maybe. Like I'm definitely like a couple years more in Toronto. I fucking love this city,
right?
I fucking absolutely love this city.
It's so great, so much stage time to be had,
and just like such a cool vibe, cool people. Like I really love the people in Toronto. I really love performing here. It's like so many different types of shows and different types of people. It's made me a much better performer, and it's made me understand myself a lot more.
And to those who've never lived abroad, there is an annoyance of living abroad. That existence of your visa, all the visa stuff that you gotta worry about when you're abroad. It's so nice to just be in the country you're a citizen of.
Yeah.
And not have any of that shit to worry. Like when I was in the States for 3 years, I was on a visa. So annoying. Like your taxes are weird. You have all these red tape for what you can do. It's like it's the worst.
Yeah, man. And yeah, New York, maybe down the road, like honestly now with like how much the world like you can like actually make yourself like online.
Yeah,
I'm really kind of going down that route now. So like that's what the one good thing about this virus has been. It's like forced me to like update all of my shit online and like learn how I can like I'm really like thinking about like how I can like do more online content. So I do this like podcast. I'm like gonna be releasing clips like you do. I really love how you do this shit here.
Appreciate it, man.
Like, yeah, I love watching your clips as well, and like it always like, oh, new episodes out and shit. So like I'm gonna be doing like a lot more of that, and I'm gonna be doing a lot more of like talking in front of the camera. And a lot about like the two things I love, like ayahuasca, meditation, any kind of like spiritual or just self-development kind of thing. Like I love growing, I love getting better, and so like I'm gonna be doing a lot more in front of the camera about that shit. And
fuck yeah, it's a time to do it, right?
Yeah, and so like
you got an audience. Everybody's looking at your phone just like you were the other day.
Exactly.
That's everybody right now.
So like I want to be doing that, and hopefully after this shit blows over, if I can get like a little bit of an online audience, and then like I'm just gonna keep building that and seeing if I can translate that into people buying comedy tickets.
Yeah. And as comedians, that this thing we're doing, this never ends.
No, it doesn't.
You know what I mean? As long as you are a working comedian, this content part, reaching out, free content, constantly touching base, constantly sending out your voice to your fans and people that actually fuck with you.
Yeah.
That never stops. Right.
No.
So it's not like in this mindset that like, oh, I want to start that thing and then maybe build an audience and just go from there. It's like, no, just get used to the idea of constantly giving.
No, that's
your voice, constantly giving your thoughts.
I'm constantly out there. And that's how I want to like approach this right now. And I've definitely like kind of switched my attitude towards that in the last month, and it's been it's been like good, buddy. I'm fucking like, yeah, I'm looking forward to like hopefully like seeing this thing grow and like and translating that into just be me doing more comedy and shit, man. Like I can't wait to get back into comedy, because I was thinking lot of people. Do you think a lot of comics are gonna be like, this might actually make them quit comedy, especially if it's like a long fucking lock down? I don't know how, like,
not the people like who, you know, not to sound like a prick, but the people who I've had on my podcast now, you know, anybody who's here to stay is here to stay.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like as if this thing lasts a year and I'm gonna be doing engineering at the end of it. That's ridiculous. You know, the very idea of that is hilarious to me. You know, like I think the bulk of the people that you see on a daily basis are here to stay even 1 year from now. You know, as soon as it goes live back again, shows, you'll see them out. Nice. A lot of the people that like are in and out, you know, comedy's got a lot of 50% of at least 50% of any comedy community, any stand-up community is like in and out. Yeah, I do my friend show every other week. I may hit an open mic if I know some friends are there, so we'll get drinks after. That kind of thing. Yeah, this could. They may come back to the open mics just as a social thing later, but the people who are in it, the people who are obsessed, you know, that feeling you had when you did comedy in between your improv sessions and you were like, oh, this is it. Yeah. Oh, this is the thing. The people who had that feeling, they're going to be back. Yeah. 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 But yeah, man, fuck yeah, bro. We're pretty much coming on an hour and 10. That's what I like to do, man. Do you want to plug anything at the end? Because I'm going to put everything in the description. I think you've said God, yay or nay. Check that shit out, especially if you liked all that ayahuasca talk. I'm sure you go in a lot more description.
Yeah, so like the first episode of God, yay or nay is my actual Mexico retreat. So I did it 6 times. I fucking went down and broke through every single ceremony. And
so there's a possibility you might not break through.
What do you mean breakthrough?
When you say breakthrough into the high?
No, I break down.
Got it.
I break down every ceremony, and I just like talked about what I learned and what I experienced in every ceremony, and every ceremony was different. So like you can actually get the idea of like how the medicine works. And the 4th episode. So I released 4 episodes so far, and like I just did the 5th one yesterday. But the 4th episode, I actually talk with the shaman.
Sick.
Yeah. So like he actually explains so much more in detail.
That's
like,
amazing
about the medicine. And and then like I talked with some comedians. I talk with a dude who fucking has his own show on Discovery. So like my whole plan is to talk with so many different people from different walks of life and kind of talk about their kind of like their whole spiritual process or growth process, how to get better in life. I talked with an atheist, so like it's not just even about spirituality, it's about people, how they look at their life, how they get better.
And you got them believing in God by the end too.
No. And they
swore to it.
That's not the point of the show.
They swore to nothingness.
So my comedy album, Brown Privilege, it's out now.
Sick. Fuck yeah. I'll plug that too.
Yeah,
so, it'll be in the description.
Yeah. And
Brown Privilege?
Yeah.
When did you drop that?
I dropped it a while back, but this is like me putting it out on everything.
Okay, all right. Hell
so it's on Spotify if you.
I'll put the link up. No, you'll find the link in the description below.
Thanks, buddy. And it's on like iTunes and shit. And you can check out my website, noorkidwai.com. And
after this, you're gonna tell me about the Toronto ayahuasca spot, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, hell yeah. From my end, as always, if you're on Apple, click that subscribe, give 5 stars, maybe leave a comment, say something nice. 5 stars, though. That's how this shit trends and fucking the algorithm and all that shit. Tell your friends about it. Spotify, click follow. Appreciate y'all so much for listening. This will be episode 50, huh?
Oh, sick.
Episode 50
Hey,
of the
thanks,
Immigrant
my man.
Section. It's been almost 1 year of weekly episodes. It's
That's
been
killer, man.
Yeah,
Congrats,
hell yeah,
congrats.
man.
That's a fucking
Thank you
huge
for coming
feat.
on, man. Thank you for talking to everybody about ayahuasca. Hopefully, a lot of people that were on the fence or they didn't know about the existence of something like that now are at least intrigued. I hope, because I think it's something beneficial for everybody.
Oh, dude. Every person I've heard who's done it is just like they've had benefits.
Their life is before and after that, right?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Well, check it out. Ayahuasca. Tell your friends about the Immigrant Section. Peace.
Peace, guys.